Lovely. So, welcome back to the next episode of Let's Chat Derbyshire, a podcast about mental health, suicide prevention and neurodiversity. I'm Luke and I work in Derbyshire's public health, mental health and suicide prevention team. We hope you're doing well, and today's going to be a slightly different type of episode where I'll be talking about ADHD and my personal experiences from it. I'm not alone though. I am joined by Lizzie, who's just sitting beside me here, and she's just going to ask some of the questions which have been sent in by yourselves and just help me along the way, really. As normal, if you're not already, do just follow us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, and we will get started. So, as we normally do, I will get Lizzie to introduce herself, but before we start that, Lizzie, how are you doing today?
Hi, Luke. How am I doing today? It's been a bit of an up and down day, but I'm really pleased to be here chatting with you now. So let's give it a kind of 6 to 7. That's
good. That's a really good. Earlier on, it was a lot lower, but I'm definitely probably about an 8 or a 9 now.
Very good.
That's great. So, Lizzie, I don't suppose if you wouldn't mind just giving a bit of an introduction about who you are and your role in public health.
Yeah, so I'm Lizzie. I'm a public health lead, and my role is to develop trauma-informed knowledge and approaches across Derbyshire. Really interesting role, quite new to public health, and it's really about giving people an opportunity to think about kind of all of our behaviour and how that might have been affected by our life experiences. So, yeah, it's going to be a fascinating piece of work that's just starting, and
That's great.
Really looking forward to talking to lots of people about that.
Yeah, no, definitely. And hopefully it's something we'll be able to share in the future. Like I say, it's just starting up, isn't it? But really exciting piece of work to, I think, hopefully influence a lot of people on how they approach.
Yeah, and I think it's really supportive of the work that the mental health and suicide prevention team are doing, because it's about underpinning that thinking, but also sort of thinking across the system about how people are.
Yeah, definitely. No, thank you.
Yeah.
That's lovely. So Lizzie will be asking some of the questions and hopefully I will be able to answer them properly. So I guess I will start with just doing a bit of an introduction. I'm Luke, and I got diagnosed with ADHD when I was in primary school. I think I was about 7 or 8 years old. So I ended up going on meds. I was on meds from when I was diagnosed until about 16. And then I'd always wanted to get in the police, so I came off them when I was 16. For people that don't know, when you get to 18, because it's under a neuro condition, you get seen under mental health services. So some people, that can put people off getting a diagnosis. I've always found meds really helpful, though. Definitely helped. The period I was off them, so I went back on them a couple of years ago. I'm 27 now, so I was about 25 when I went back on them. So it was a good, nearly 10 years off them. It was a bit tricky.
Yeah. So look, as you said, that was quite young to get a diagnosis. How did that make you feel? I mean, what did you think when you were that age, or did you just go along with it? How did it impact on you?
It was tricky. I don't remember much, to be fair. You can trick yourself, I think, to remember things better or worse than they were sometimes. But when really hard, my mum and dad had to stay at nursery with me practically because I used to get that anxious. I used to hate being left. It used to make me sick. I think because no one knew it as anxiety, I don't think at the time. I went for so many hospital appointments and investigations, because of stomach cramps and being sick all the time and stuff. And I think, you feel lonely. I don't know, when I was at school, maybe, and hopefully it's starting to be different now, but you just get labelled like the naughty kid, the kid that can't sit still or be quiet. And, after every school report, every parent's evening, and I think it was just quite draining for my mum, having to hear that all the time, being called up that, Luke's been sent out of lesson again for being disruptive. He's not sat still. He's done this. He's done that. So that's what I remember of school. It just being hard. I enjoyed it still, but it just, it was hard, I think. And
what about amongst your peer group? Was there any was there understanding when you were younger? Did you tell people?
I don't think I told anyone really. Yeah, I'd say in the last 2 years since doing the job I do, it's the first time I've openly told people about it. And obviously people know, like, I think it's hard not to tell really sometimes. But definitely through school, it was something that I didn't really talk about, didn't really, speak about much. I think it was just embarrassing. I think and it was probably because of all those negative interactions, I think, that you feel like it's something to be ashamed of when it's not. And I'm happy now that I am starting, to see that.
So do you think that's had an impact on your sort of mental health as you've been growing up and now?
I think so, yeah. So, interesting one, mental health. I think it's, it's been tricky. Definitely a lot of self-doubt still. And I think it always plays an effect. There's something called rejection sensitivity dysmorphia, I think. And it's around, doubting yourself a lot, always thinking that you've let people down. And that definitely resonates with me. I can definitely talk about it more later. But, a lot of anxiety growing up. Tried to get over it, but you can't, can you? You try and push it down.
Yeah. And there's, I've sort of seen some pretty scary figures. That one in 10 men, 1 in 4 women with ADHD will attempt to take their life at some point. That's really scary. Yeah,
really high. It's interesting. Just for my own personal experience, normally it's men, isn't it, where we see the higher figures. 3/4 of suicides are men, but in ADHD and autism, that's completely flipped on its head, and it's much higher in women, in the attempts and stuff. So it's really scary. And I know for myself, so I've had a roller coaster of emotions, definitely. So 6 years ago, I was close. I was ready to take my own life. I'd planned it, get everything, everything lined up, everything sorted, and then I just got a text from my brother, and it was nothing, nothing meaning, it was just a text, and it was weird. It just brought me back down, and I just couldn't go through with it. And at the time, I think I was really upset because I just didn't want to be here anymore. And but now it's definitely a blessing,
Thank goodness for that.
So thankful for him. And
do you mind me asking that then? How does it affect your kind of relationships in your home life and family life?
Yeah, it's tricky, especially friendships and stuff. And it's not that I say I get bored easily. It's not that I get bored of the person. I just find it tricky. So I guess from ADHD, I don't really like going out much. And it's not because I don't want to. I just get really anxious about it. But I really worry about saying the wrong thing to someone or making a joke that I find hilarious but isn't that funny. Stuff like that. So, but luckily with my family, they get it. So I've never really had to wear a mask around my family. I've always just been myself, which I'm really lucky to be able to that. But in more social situations, and I think other people with ADHD, autism, and other stuff like that will understand, like putting your mask on. Yeah. And that is draining. It's so tiring.
It might be, if you don't mind sharing a bit more, it might be helpful to talk a little bit more about that school process, because there might be younger people listening and actually still going through that phase of maybe not being diagnosed, maybe not, or even if they have, not being able to say to anybody, how did you cope? How did you get through?
No, definitely. So I think, looking back on it, and it was hard to regulate my emotions. I think I was sat in lessons and I didn't understand what was happening. It could just send me into like a bit of a... I think for anyone listening, maybe that is younger, that hasn't been diagnosed, it's okay to not know. There's still loads that I don't understand. You'll be doing something, or I don't know, this weekend, a prime example, I went downstairs to make a brew and ended up taking everything out of all the cupboards, cleaning all the cupboards, and moving everything around just to try and make it fit neater. And it took me, I think, 5 hours. And all I'd gone was to make a brew. And I've just accepted it now. Like, that's just me. That will happen.
Yeah.
And when I was at school, if I'd known that, I think it would have been a lot easier to manage, because you have had all this going around in my head. You feel people looking at you. And you're just trying to pretend. And I think, I don't know, if you've not been diagnosed, or even if you have, trying to mask and pretend to be someone you're not. You're just trying to mirror what other people do.
What's helpful in terms of the people you live with? So parents or carers or, friends, I suppose, from your perspective, what's helpful for other people to do for you to support you?
Yeah. I think acceptance is the biggest thing. There's nothing wrong with having ADHD or autism or anything else like that. It's not a disease. You can never cure it. You'll have it forever. But just accepting that someone in your life does have it is the big thing. And then do your research on it. Okay. So if they do say hurtful things, it's usually not meant to be at you. It's because, well, for me anyway, I don't know what I'm having a bad time, and the people I love are usually the first ones that will get word vomited and I hate you. Yeah. Just leave me alone. I don't want to be with you. I don't want to see you anymore. And it's not them. It's normally that something's happened and I don't know I just don't know how else to get it out. Yeah. And I think that, again, that's another thing, is it's normally really short. And if, say my partner, if I'm having a mood, she'll just leave me alone for 5 minutes. And that's normally all it is. And then after 5 minutes, I'll come up to him and I'm sorry. Yeah. And I can get over it really quickly. And just listening. And I think if you are struggling, I wish I'd spoken about it more. Okay. So when I didn't understand stuff or I was struggling, I wish I'd just said, I don't get this, instead of pretending I could. I wonder how as you're growing up and you've got those feelings, how do you get that confidence to say that, I suppose? How do you get to the place where you can ask for a space or ask for help or ask for understanding? I don't know. I think how are you developing that? In a way? I think being younger, it must be really hard. I'm only now at 27 at a stage, and I think that is because of the job I'm in, where I feel like I can be like, hold up, I need some time just to sort myself out. And I think that's because I'm surrounded by kind people like yourself and other colleagues that understand it. Whereas in other jobs or when I was at school, you just feel ashamed, and you think it's just going to have a negative impact, that people will think that you're just like naughty or can't focus or can't pay attention, and stuff. So no, I think it's thinking behind the behaviour, isn't it? Yeah, it's kind of work that I'm doing as well, isn't it? Is what's behind somebody's behaviour. Thinking being a bit more curious about why, because I think that's exactly what it is, and especially when there may be a explosion of excitement, or I don't know. I think in examples, if anyone's been watching I'm a Celeb, press Sam's been getting, and everyone comparing him to a child and stuff, and it's negative stuff like that doesn't help, because he's not acting childish. That's him. He's just got a lot of excitement, and the way he gets that out is by being really energetic, by being really passionate about stuff, and that's fine, and if people maybe, and this is an example, just trying to level him down by saying, Sam, we get that you're really happy and stuff, but just take a breather, let's sit down, and it would have probably taken a lot of that out for him, and a lot of that was probably anxiety and self-worry, because that's what I get like. I think it helps when people spot the signs to, like, my partner or like yourselves and stuff. It's just that, Luke, and that look and stuff, and I'm like, okay, yep, I'll calm it down. Are there unexpected advantages though with your energy and your enthusiasm? I think so, yeah. Little things like, being able to do this podcast and stuff. I think if I didn't have ADHD, I wouldn't be able to blitz through stuff so fast. And that's probably one of the benefits I like about it, is being able to work fast. Knowing boundaries and limits, and I think sometimes it's hard to notice. It does have its benefits. I think, I don't know, personally, when people say it's a superpower, I don't think it is a superpower, because there's a lot of downsides to it, but I wouldn't change it. I do love it. It makes me think differently, makes me notice different things that others wouldn't notice, I don't think, and I think it helps me think outside the box a bit. I feel like it makes me a lot more empathetic as well with people. So even though I can't sometimes resonate with people's emotions, really bad at reading situations, if someone is upset, I feel like I can empathise a lot better with them than I wouldn't do. I guess, I don't know, probably the main downside is that trying to find that dopamine, trying to get the dopamine kick. I guess people that may not know that. So someone who's neurotypical, so doesn't have ADHD or autism or one of those other wider conditions, if you, I don't know, say if you bought a new phone or, I don't know, a new watch or something, you would get real enjoyment and pleasure out of it, and you'd be, I don't know, that would fulfill you for, I don't know, weeks or so, something, you'd be really happy with it. And for me, so I love Lego. If I buy some Lego, I'd say a couple of hours after that, interest is gone. I'm still happy I've got it, and I'm still looking forward to building it, but I'm searching for that kick again. And that's why a lot of people with ADHD, I think, are in a lot of financial difficulty, because you're having to chase. And I got in a really bad situation when I was about 18, 19. I was spending so much money. And it's because you're just trying to constantly chase that kick, I guess, trying to get that boost of dopamine to make you happy and feel like you're, I don't know, succeeding.
How are you managing that? How do you?
The medication helps a bit. I don't feel that need to. At the minute, to be fair, it's hard. Food, that can help. That's why there can be quite a lot of eating disorders. Definitely why I've, had weight gain over the last 5-6 years. And I think I set expectation, and I think it's learning. I think a lot of it's learning about yourself and just researching. There's a website called ADHD, so it's ADD and then Tude, and there's lots of really useful evidence-based stuff on there from research, a lot of published papers, but in a engaging way. And it's given me a lot better understanding of why am I feeling like that. So and I think going out for a walk, listening to music, stuff like that, taking some Lego apart and rebuilding it, sort of fixes it a bit. Doesn't always make it easier, but it does fill that void.
So sort of finding what works for you then, understanding yourself and finding things that work for you.
And I think that helps in work as well. I think so. I left school at 16, was a chef for a bit, and then done many, many jobs in between. My mates laugh at me for how many jobs I've had. Whereas now, this is a job I love and I will stick at. But it takes time. I never knew really what I wanted to do, apart from the police, and then that ended up being the worst time of my life. It's just trial and error. And when people say, but you've had so many jobs, I'm like, but at least I know what I'm doing now I'm happy with. It's just took me a bit longer to find it.
You talked about something called rejection sensitive dysphoria, RSD.
RSD.
Do you think you could just explain a little bit more? Because that might be a sort of intriguing people. It's intriguing me. What is it?
Yeah, no, I never knew about it. And again, I think this is why it's important to keep learning. I think it describes me in a nutshell, to be fair. It's extreme, I guess, pain or sensitivity to different emotions. So for me, so if I'm in a meeting and I'll say something that maybe didn't go down too well, or you can sort of read it, maybe wasn't the most appropriate thing to say, in my head I'll play over that same situation for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, and you will get a complete sense of dread and failure. Whereas I guess, I don't know, when I've spoken to people about it, they're like, no, I just bat it off like it was nothing. But for me it is. And I constantly feel like I've failed. So I don't know, if I say something to my manager, or I get a message from my manager being like, oh, I need to speak to you, my initial thought is I've done something wrong. I have majorly messed up here. And I go in an absolute pit of dread, of self-consciousness, thinking I have, really messed up. And I think it definitely makes me more of a people pleaser, because I just don't want to upset or offend anyone. And it doesn't matter, like, some people won't like me, and that's fine. But it's the worry about it. Constantly goes in your head, and every meeting I go to, every conversation I have, I just constantly replay over in my head. And if there's something that I don't think went quite right, if I don't ask them about it, I'll just pick up on it. Constantly trying to scam people to change myself to sort of fit in a bit. And I guess it links back to wearing that mask and stuff, and I'm trying to get better at not doing it. But
Okay.
I feel
that sounds quite stressful to
Yeah.
live with that.
it is quite draining.
How does your energy work? You know, how do you?
Constantly tired, I think. It can be really, some days more than others in terms of if I have had a bad meeting or a bad experience where I am constantly thinking about how I should have been, or if something, I don't know, if I've been pulled up on something and I'm constantly replaying it. Or it might be, actually, I had a good experience in a meeting that makes me think about another meeting I had where I should have maybe done that, and then I'm constantly playing that over and stuff. So, yeah, it can be really draining.
I wonder if it makes you really sort of a bit more sympathetic and empathetic to other people's ways of being.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know, because this is all I've known. Maybe someone who gets diagnosed later on in life or thinks they've got ADHD later on in life may be able to balance it up a bit more in their understanding. But I think it maybe does, especially with giving people time. I think if someone's struggling, then I'm just like, yeah, that's fine.
And it's where you've ended up working, isn't it?
Yeah.
And feeling like you know, and I know you're doing a really good job. That kind of feeling of being in a place where it's about helping people and understanding mental health and the suicide prevention work you're doing. You know,
definitely.
You know, I suppose it's that lived experience, isn't it? You're feeding in.
Yeah, I guess the main reason I do this job is because I just don't want anyone to feel like I did. Anyone to feel like that. That's probably the biggest motivation and hindrance sometimes, because I don't always see that bigger picture.
Yeah. You've talked a lot really about the kind of drawbacks and also how you're trying to make sort of advantages out of the person you are, the skills you have. Is there anything you just want to sort of round up with in terms of how people cope with it and what you might? I don't like saying top tips because it's but you know what I mean. How do people cope?
Yeah,
you know, what could you add to that?
I think acceptance in terms of self-acceptance. Like, since I've just accepted the fact, you know, this is me. I am who I am, and I may not think the same as others. But the good side is I think I'm really funny. I think a lot of people with ADHD are hilarious. And it does help me. It helps me at work, helps me focus. It helps me not focus sometimes. But, you know, there's always that flip side. And talking to people, you know, if you can, there's obviously, you know, we know there's a massive problem with people being assessed at the minute, but just trying to make those steps to get assessed can be really helpful. And just researching it, learning about it. If you feel like, I don't know, why do I have to clean the shower 3 times? Or why do I notice this? And it probably is just your ADHD, just, you know, shouting at you a bit and stuff.
You're incredibly brave because you're sitting talking about it here and it's potentially going completely public. I suppose what I'm hearing you say there is for other people, it's about those that you trust. If you're sharing it with them, you know, you're building that understanding. It's going to help them. It's going to help you, isn't it? And you have to just do that with those that you know, as you get to know people and the people you're closest to. Yeah.
It's hard. Like, I don't want to sit here and think, let's all talk about ADHD. It's gonna because it's not. It's so hard. It's so personal. And I think if you don't understand it yourself, how you expect to go and explain it to other people, you can't.
Yeah.
But you know, I just want people to know it's okay.
Yeah, and that you know, every team needs a huge amount of different skills, and you bring so many skills, and some of them you know you might be calling ADHD, but they're not necessarily. We don't have to recognise them as that. It's just the skills that you bring because you are Luke.
Yeah, you know. Yeah, it's just me. So, in typical ADHD style, there was a few things that I forgot to say, but I wanted to, so hopefully you don't mind this bit of an insert into the episode. So just want to start off with meds. Meds aren't for everyone. I'm on my 2nd type of medication, but still looking maybe to change it, as I've noticed it's not working as well lately. There's no way of curing ADHD, and neither should it try and be cured, because it's, you know, it's who I am. But meds are definitely helpful for me. They don't work for everyone, but they do for me. So if you are trying them, you don't need to rush. It might take a few years for you to find what's right for you, and it might not. You've just got to try and, I guess, persist with it. But if you think it won't work for you, then don't keep pushing, because there's loads of other ways that you'll be able to try and balance it out, make what works for you work. Another thing was, I guess, some little quirks. So I don't know, there's a few things linked to ADHD which you may notice in yourself. So for me, I guess, and others, is, a funny tummy, very sensitive tummy. Smells seem to affect me a lot, like smells in the house, smells that people don't notice, and I'm like, that stinks. And it definitely, everyone else is like, oh no, it doesn't. I'm like, it does. But yeah, that's another one. And as we've shown today, my memory can be shocking, and I can, completely forget things that have just happened. And then I guess, switching tasks very easily, like I've said earlier on. But I can be brushing my teeth and then end up deep cleaning the bathroom because of like one mark on the tap. Then I don't know if anyone else does this, but I tend to sometimes, sing to myself, make some weird noises if I'm anxious as well. And it's just a way, I guess, really of coping with it. And then, fidgeting with stuff. And this is one that I've heard from a lot of people, but apparently people with ADHD love lip balm, love popping lip balm on. I do, but I don't know if anyone else does, so do let me know. I do love, though, how I can notice other things. I'm definitely more aware. Sometimes it's just helpful knowing, why you might be doing that or feeling like that. Hobby, so in songs, that's another cracking one, listening to the same song over and over again. I like it, I just continue listening to the same songs over and over again, but I think that it gets on people's nerves if they're with me in the car and stuff. And then just thinking random thoughts. I'm sure everyone does this, but I feel like if you've got, a neurodivergent condition, it happens a lot more than others. Today's top tip was definitely the thinking who invented toilet paper. I've forgotten who has now, but I did end up Googling it. Anyway, that's it for the bit of the interlude. I wanted to cover a few other points that I felt like I probably should have spoke about. We can all do our part in reducing the stigma about it. If you do your research, just make sure it's from a reliable source, because there's lots of stuff out there that is not true, and it is painting the wrong picture of this. So thanks everyone. Anyway, I'll share some more bits, but back in for the wrapping up. Thank you.
Yeah, lots of learning for all of us there, isn't there? About accepting who you are and making the best of the things you like and trying to cope with the things that you don't like as much. Yeah, that's been really interesting talking to you, and thanks for your honesty. It's actually it's kind of brave and thank you.
No, and hopefully it'll just help people. Cause I hate sitting in front of the camera and talking about this, but hopefully it will help people, and we'll have more on this, more on autism. We've got loads lined up for 2024. If there's any questions that people have, you can ask us on social media, on Facebook, Instagram or Twitter, or drop us an email, letschat@derbyshire.gov.uk. Thanks, Lizzie. It's been lovely talking to you.
Yeah, you too.
Thank you. You've been listening to the Let's Chat Derbyshire podcast. You can watch and listen every first and third Tuesday of the month by searching for Let's Chat Derbyshire. Don't forget to like and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.